We ran across a troubling story in the Washington Post not long ago, and quite frankly, we had to read it twice to make sure it wasn't a joke. Apparently, some 36 schools in Division 1A offer courses in football, which are only open to varsity football players. In other words, at some of the most prominent schools in the country, football players are getting credit for playing football. We kid you not on this. There are certainly a lot of things about which people like to argue when it comes to sports. This undoubtedly is bound to be one of them.
In Division 1A football, student athlete is largely an oxymoron.
Varsity football.
Course bulletin and master schedule.
2 hours. 1 hour lecture, 3 hours lab per week.
Offered fall semester every year.
It surprises me, frankly, any university would be offering classes which are essentially so much hot air. The universities betray their student athletes by offering such classes.
Big-time college sports never cease to amaze me in their ability to stretch reason and common sense and to make a mockery of the term student athlete.
Throughout the country, the time has come. School is once again in session. Time to hit the books. But something is dramatically different these days. Many colleges throughout the country are offering credit to football players for playing football. At Florida State, Coach Bowden is also the instructor of PEL 1644, 1 credit, varsity football. At Ohio State, players can repeat course 196.06 as many as 5 times and earn 10 credits under the watchful eye of instructor Jim Tressel. Even Joe Paterno, the man thought to be a model of rectitude for so long, offers a course at Penn State. And at Iowa, football players can have 1 credit applied to their degree as they suit up for the Hawkeyes.
We think these are legitimate educational classes. There's certainly a value to participation in intercollegiate athletics. I think that intercollegiate athletics continues to be one of the best leadership laboratories that's available on campus.
I would argue that these are legitimate courses. As long as our faculty continue to believe that they are worthy of a credit, then I consider that to be a legitimate course.
Weiser's head coach, Bill Snyder, not only teaches his players, but actually offers letter grades that affect grade point averages. Last fall, 65 of 69 student athletes earned an A for varsity football at Kansas State.
Something like 95% of the students in the class got A's, which means that they're either very dedicated football players or Bill Snyder is giving out A's to everybody who shows up.
I know enough about Coach Snyder and the kinds of expectations that he has of our student athletes that if someone is deserving of an A, they're going to receive an A.
This is the definition of grade inflation, to be giving what amounts to 96% A's in a course which to begin with has no substance, no meaning, no value. I don't know why every one of them didn't get an A.
I look very carefully and with great skepticism towards instances in which letter grades are given for mere participation.
The question is, does a course offered and taught by the head football coach create some kind of academic fraud?
There is room for abuse. For example, take the Georgia case. In the Georgia case, in which grades were given, which I think is a mistake, where attendance was not taken, which is clearly a mistake, and silly exams were offered, that's academic fraud of the worst kind.
Brand, of course, is referring to Jim Harrick and the scandal at the University of Georgia, where a player revealed that he received course credit for a class offered by assistant head coach Jim Harrick Jr. The catch? The player never showed up at class, where the final exam offered incredulous questions like, how many halves in a basketball game? And the thought-provoking, how many points is a 3-point shot worth?
To offer this kind of course is, of course, a betrayal of everything that this university was supposed to be about.
When you are charged with academic fraud and you have a situation such as happened with a certain school in the SEC, there's no question it's going to draw more scrutiny to what's going on in athletic programs.
Harvard is not a place where academics and athletics come into question. Head coach Tim Murphy has graduated every single player come his way, players that don't have athletic scholarships. that don't earn academic credit for playing a game, that play the game as an extracurricular activity.
Football is very important to our kids, but at the end of the day, their first priority is still to get a world-class education. Our kids are savvy enough to understand that certain accommodations have to be made at some state institutions where if they're going to keep their athletes eligible, they have to have coursework that they can complete, and our kids just realize that's part of the landscape of major college athletics in this day and age.
And that landscape involves some of the most prominent football programs in the country. From the defending national champion to a football factory in Florida and a powerhouse in the Midwest. All programs seemingly more concerned with keeping players eligible than keeping their sheepskins meaningful.
It is more than symbolic that schools which are regularly in the top 25 regularly seem to be offering non-courses to their student athletes.
You'll find in that same group of institutions, graduation rates are below 20%. Now, this isn't good.
It's a regrettable truth of Division 1A football that the most successful schools are often those that find the most successful shortcuts to success.
This is a form of very blatant cheating. They are not being held to the same standards as those with whom they compete. This is the kind of situation that if it does not embarrass the universities involved, if it does not make them rethink what they are doing, then they are already corrupted beyond belief.
I think that we're faced with a crisis, really, and then what we've got to do is to decide what we're going to be. Is this the way I want my university to act? Is this the way I want my university to deal with these young people? The answer has to be no.
Couple of quick points. Number one, for those who don't know, the Knight Commission is a watchdog group that focuses on academic issues as they relate to intercollegiate athletics. And number two, neither Michigan nor Notre Dame offers these types of classes. Now, as to the remarkable substance of what we just heard, you know, it's easy to sit on your high horse and pass judgment on many things, but this, no matter how you'd like to spin it, is simply an outrage. It's just the type of thing that gives college sports a bad name, and with good reason. You know, the joke used to be that football players took basket weaving in college. Now the joke is that football players take football. The sad thing is that now the joke is no longer a joke.